All right. Abani Ghani, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus for California State University of Long Beach, Africana Studies Department, along with co-hosts who will be joining us later, Joe Hembrick, Joe Historian Hembrick, longtime historian of the Black African experience and Black experience. He's a longtime educator for Linwood and Compton Unified School District and administrator, retired now, but still worked hard to educate young people with consciousness. And then at the same time, we want to thank Hakim Maskani for providing us this platform, Conscious Corner, as an extension of the CEN show, Community Education Network, and we deeply appreciate him that. Tonight we have a very lively discussion that we're going to be discussing the origin, history, and dynamics of hate crime in America. And we have a very outstanding speaker that's going to introduce himself and tell you about himself, and then we're going to get right into it. So go ahead, brother.
Greetings, everyone. Community Education Network. How you doing? My name is Umar Hakim Day. I am the founder of Encourage. Encourage Foundation is a 501c3 social enterprise. It's an advisory that helps purpose-driven organizations and individuals build their capacity through program development, audience insights, and one-to-one personal coaching. I got my 501. It got its 501c3 in November of last year. So the first leg of building this brand is going to be around community building. And two things kind of is inspiring my work. On April 20th, with the Pico California Network, we went up to Sacramento to lobby around on a campaign that's called Our Home is Sacred. And all our initiatives was based on housing, like rent control and unfair evictions and building more property for housing when it comes to homelessness. And we moved about 600 to 800 people into these spaces and to lobby like 18 state officials. And what I was excited, but also not disappointed, but kind of like discouraged, because the few representation of us wasn't present. And so I said, okay, this year I want to focus Encourage on community building. And then on June 1st, I was a part of a press conference at this downtown Central Library with Rob Bonta, California's AG. And he has a new report. So I think the last time I was on your show, we talked about hate crime. And at that time, being that African Americans are like 9% of LA County's population, but we are 46% of targeted hate crime. So now this newest report says that hate crimes have increased 27% against African Americans. So 26 plus 46, I'm no mathematician. That's like what, 73%. So 73% of all hate crimes targets African Americans. And so I called Rico today. I'm like, yo, I think we need to create more awareness around this, because this puts us again, since 1619, we're still in the same boat of being hated upon and mistreated and targeted by other groups. And there's no accountability for attacking us. And now, because like at the same time, we went up 27%, I believe the Asian hate crime the Asian hate crimes went down. I don't know if that's in a correlation with the Asian hate crime bill that was established in the last year or so, but there's an accountability for touching them, for saying anything too. There's accountability for touching anybody in the LGBTQ community. So it's a couple of things that I feel that our community really need to advocate for and hold organizations that represent us accountable for, especially going into this 2023-24 presidential elections. What would be our values or our agenda that we're gonna have these before we give our vote as whatever party you assign that you registered as. So basically, hopefully this conversation, this dialogue that we have tonight could be around how we're going to move people and money towards our towards our causes, and how we could develop community leaders, the basic community leaders to have more awareness around what's going on with this. Because, you know, in my point of view, you know, we are, I think our values are not everybody, but values are in the wrong place right now, you know, taking trips and trying to identify the next party and who's the flyest and this and trying to get this bag when we are on almost our last leg as a culture, and how we keep allowing people to attack us. So that's why I met Mr. Rahh with this, and now, you know, hopefully we can have this conversation, how we could create more awareness.
Okay. Machinda, how's the brother? Are you there, Machinda?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
All right, brother. You deep in the South. Louisiana.
Yeah, we down here chilling, man. Yeah, yeah. It's all good on the front, you know. It's got the struggles as usual, but
yeah, but go ahead with what's your position on these hate crimes? And as Brother Hakim was saying, that the statistics show that they have increased, and that we increased 27 or 37% from being the number one in the beginning. And so, how do you see what hate crimes are? Or how do you?
well, I mean, yeah.
First of all, what's your definition of a hate crime? What's your definition of a hate crime?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. How do you see when they say?
Oh, okay. Well, you know, hate is hate. You know, a hate crime. You know, when it comes to, you know, you know, the power structure, the people that supports the power structure. You know, they identify certain entities. You know, like Brother Umar said. You know, color. You know, gender, whatever. You know, so it's kind of like white supremacy is you know, has their own value system, and so if you fall outside of that value system, you're gonna be under attack in more ways than one. You know, so if you're not part of that mission and that group, you know, that whole agenda, then you're the enemy to them. You know, you talk about population control and all the other things that's going on in you know, the reasons why and so forth. So yeah, so they basically, you know, identify, you know, groups, individuals, and you know, provide hate toward them. That's all. You know, I mean, you know, killing. You know, you remember they dragged a brother down there in Texas years ago. We talked about that before. You know, not too far, probably about 5 hours from here, you know, 5 or 6 hours, you know, that was,
you know,
Jasper,
Texas. Jasper.
Yeah. I go that way all the time. You know, I got people and visit people that way. And you know, I remember that when I traveled that way, I didn't see you didn't see a sign say Jasper, Texas, but there's a sign up now letting you know that if you take this route, this is where Jasper, Texas is. So it reminds me of that every time I go that way, you know, when I'm headed, to central part of Texas when I, from time to time. But anyway, that's a great example of a hate crime. Here's a brother not bothering anybody, and you got hateful white men pull up in a truck or whatever, harass the man and do his thing and tie him up and drag him and get laughs out of it, So, I mean, black folks getting hung, I haven't seen anybody hanging out here, ever. I think when I first moved out this way, they had some guy, some youngster who was dating a white girl, I think. That was probably about, 20 something years ago in Mississippi, which is not too far. He was hung, So I'm just saying, what is a hate crime? I think it's a power move, and they do it under the auspices of hate, and they try to carry it out. I haven't been witnessing any of that out here since I've been here lately. I mean, there's some hateful thinkers. You could tell they haven't reached a boiling point yet, I guess. But they have that potential. But this place down here has a history of white supremacy, racism, and hate crimes and all that. And so, but this town also has a history of warriors and people who stand up. But unfortunately, what's happening is the leadership. When I say the leadership, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about individuals and groups. Of course, we talked about COINTELPRO and the infiltration of the organizational, efforts, and and that's still in play. It's by remote control and high tech, and they doing it in different aspects in different ways. People talk about AI and all these other things, that they need to find out about. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, people as a whole are under attack. We as a people are under attack constantly. So I said all that to say that I think it's self-explanatory what a hate crime is, and of course the law has a definition. The federal government likes to stick on an enhancement on certain adjudications that go on in the country, where they like to say that it was a hate crime, and so it enhances their sentence and things like that, the ones who participate in that. But, so I don't know. I just want to welcome the brother back, all I can say is, stay on point and do your part, just continue to do your part. I work with the enemy every day, and they a lot of them are cloaking behind a smile and so forth, a job or whatever they're doing, but I know who they are. But at the end of the day, I'm more or less trying to educate the young folks that I encounter on a regular basis to be aware, what's happening. And, you gotta, but it's the organizations have been splintered, the organizations that used to be about that they try to bring them back. And, I've been a part of organizations and man, it's tough. People, they fight each other, in-house fighting. The unity is not there. And so sometimes you got to go solo until, but I'm just speaking of my own personal experience and recent memory. So, but that's all I have to say about hate crime, so.
Okay, but it was good. That was a good analysis. Appreciate what you said, if I understand correctly. What about you, Brother E? How you define race hate crimes? And
How do I
your
define
perspective on it? Mm-hmm.
Okay, my perspective on hate crimes is pretty much the U.S. We'll say the Caucasian Americans. I think that's we're in one of the most hateful countries existing, I believe. Yeah, so I feel pretty much what we go through and what we have been going through for the last 500 years. We've been nothing but hate coming from our oppressors. And not only our oppressors, I see other nationalities that tend to hate on us blacks. And I think now just becoming more aware with the videos that are being shown nowadays. So pretty much, just like the brother just said before me, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It come in many forms, as he was saying, many forms. Not just physical hate. It's built all throughout the systems, in schools, employment, everywhere we have hate in America. That's what I've noticed. When I've been outside the country, I've noticed, still a little hate out there, but it's not as prevalent as it is in the U.S. That's all I have to say, Doctor.
Okay. All right. Brother Rashaki.
Well, I'm what can I say? Since we live in a racial context, I would say that hate crime is you have, and this is just it's nothing that's governmental or a definition that's governmental or anything, but it's 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 identified racial groups perpetrating crimes on other identified racial groups. There could be a hate crime. I could commit a hate crime against, which I'm African American, they say, and you know that's how I'm categorized. And I can commit a crime against any other recognized racial groups, and it would be considered a hate crime. So it's something in that I would say in that area, and also everything is strategic. The system is strategic in what they do, and they perpetrate uh, racial acts based on the system. Period. So because of racism, it is strategic, and and being brought over here on slave ship and servitude, that was the initial hate crime, I would say. So there's a lot to it, and then there's specific definitions for hate crimes as it as it would be explained lawfully.
Okay, brother Hakim, do you want to give your definition and your perspective?
Sure. Man, I hats off to the previous speakers. I agree wholeheartedly with what you were saying and how hate crime exists. Formally, a hate crime is typically one involving violence that is motivated by the prejudice on the basis of ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or similar ground. So when the crime, like the brother said, when the crime involves you attacking someone and you attack them with the intention or out of the motivation because of their ethnicity, their color, their religion, or their sexual orientation, that will be considered, and it results in violence, that will be considered a hate crime. Now, the flip side of that is what is hate speech. It's an abusive or threatening speech or writing that expresses prejudice on the basis of ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or other grounds. So when hate speech transgresses the limits of violence, then that becomes a hate crime. And like, I want to go back to what Brother Rigo said, is what is the strategy? What is our strategy to counteract all this? How because, like, example, Florida, they passed a curriculum that states that some Black people, some Africans benefited, slavery was beneficial to us. When you make policies like this, that creates the opportunity to have more hate speech, and that turn into a hate crime. But they feel so comfortable at making these policies, at passing these policies. They feel comfortable at passing these policies, and I believe, Umar, you have an alternative to this. They feel so comfortable at passing these policies. Where is the where do we stand as opposition to this? You see what I'm saying? I'm a part of organizations that do community organizing, train community members to show up for actions when it comes to a cause, to come express their story and to have policy move towards our way. But is it enough? Or when we gonna stop piling up watching the Super Bowl and pile up in front of the on Capitol Hill as a unit advocating for a hate crime bill for us? We need the George Floyd Act. We need all kind of acts that's gonna protect our community. So I'm hoping that we could just develop or agitate those who are watching. What's our strategy? What's going to be our agenda for 2023, 2024 U.S. presidential elections? Are we just going to give our vote away and vote traditionally in the favor of whoever sounds good? And I don't think after the Biden administration that we want to go for that.
Can I interject something that you just said that's very important? You mentioned value systems earlier, and then you just mentioned the Super Bowl. These are activities that's been learned, been sensationalized through media, by our participation, which we grew up in the streets. Brother Mashinda and I grew up playing ball, and we get very involved in that, and you learn this culture, and it becomes a part of your value system to adopt these type of activities and then sensationalize it and become a fan base at a higher levels of the entertainment of the sport. So how do you counter all of this learned behavior? Because people take out multitudes of time to plan for events surrounded by a Super Bowl and all of that. It's a mind thing that we're caught up in, and how do we change this around? I'm a part of that change agent to make things more important than a Super Bowl. Go ahead.
That I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know you have studies on this about mind control and how to shift the paradigm, how to shift the mind focus of people values into what really matters. Can you educate me, Rigo, on about how do we go about shifting or getting people more involved? Because pop culture is a major distraction from what we're going through. Because every time something's happening majorly, you won't hear it on the news. They'll do the smoking mirrors and but we don't see the dancing bear in back. You see what I'm saying? So Rico, let me know how, according to your studies, how can we shift the minds and strengthen our values?
Well, there's various things you could do, but it takes time and effort. And on here I'm Rasaki Maskani.
Oh, my bad. Rasaki.
But it's okay.
My bad.
I'm pretty sure if anybody's watching, they know who I am, other than Rasaki Maskani. But that's by the name I go by on here. Well, I think that what we're doing here, we're educating. Education. We have to, I think, point out things that's contributing to why we got to we got to start asking, why are we doing this? And then we got to start looking at the results of all of these actions. And then we have to also, when we look at those results, and then we got to ask for, what did we really get out of this that's beneficial for
Nothing.
you, for me, in our community? How are we benefiting?
Nothing. No way.
We'll see. We got to start seeing these things. If we got to get our eyes open, that's one thing. And then we also got to have alternative activities that's going to, attract people. And one more thing, if we know that we live in a racial system, and then we also know that the majority of the talent is Black, and this is who's bringing the fan base. Why don't we start identifying what we could do as a racial group, since we are in a racial context? How can we start building our own type of sports where we don't have to? Well, we know why we do what we do, because it's motivated out of money. These people get paid enormous amount of money. But how can we start making a shift in pulling the talent away from, the large institutions that give these people all the money? It's just, and then how can we start making people more of a value versus the money? So these are things that we got to start looking at.
Okay. Well. I just want y'all to make note of a couple things. The first thing, you never let your oppressor be your teacher. The guy that's killing you, why you listen to him? That's very important. Second, that, we have to begin to understand the mindset of people that are comfortable in their oppression, and that they want to be Americans. And they do what Americans do. They eat American food. They go to American places. The Image Award is from the NAACP is modeled after the Academy Award. BET Awards is it's all about being American. White folks giving white folks awards. Now it's Black people giving Black people awards. When you come down to hate crimes, you can't let the oppressor define it. He'll have you thinking it's an individual act, but it's all an institution. It's all interconnected, interrelated. The same guy kill you gets off by judges and juries. Same guy that oppress you gets off in civil court. Unless it's blatant, and they'll pay you off and keep on doing what they're doing. So my perspective is that hate crimes should be expanded to issues that really dilute our power, affects us mentally, and affects us socially in our families and in our communities. So when you think about a hate crime, that first of all should be based upon voter suppression. They're not going to define Alabama defining not going along with the federal court ruling to stop gerrymandering and redraw their map to include two more majority Black districts. They ain't gonna say that's a hate crime because it's institutional, but I'm saying it's a hate crime. And same thing with housing. housing discrimination, redlining, not being able to finance, gerrymandering, all that's a hate crime. You understand? It's a hate crime. But you let him tell you it's about somebody's prejudice. After he beat you, then they say, well, and he called you a bunch of racial names. Okay, that's a hate crime. Oh, yeah, okay. So this is one person. Let's keep going. Health disparities. They're talking about how many Black women are dying from these laws that they're dealing with abortion and not just abortion, those that's trying to give a baby. They see the Sinai being sued for discrimination and Black women dying at birth, giving birth. That's a hate crime to me. You understand? If the statistics says Brother Hakim break down, you know, that we're victims of the violent hate crimes, and it's included, why not the institutional hate crimes? You understand? That's very important. The same thing with education. Yeah, the disparity in education. Disparity, it was so disparate, they had to come up with affirmative action. There's two parts to affirmative action. There's what they call de facto, and there's discrimination, and then there's jurisprudence. One is based on the facts, the history, and the tradition of discrimination, and one that had laws and policies and cultural traditions that as a part of discrimination. But they hate crimes, because they directed, majority of them are directed at Black. Now, gays, sexual orientation just came on the set, and they argue and use us as an example of their abuse. You know, so that means they can't come after us. You know, we're not using their example to explain our abuse. They use our abuse to explain their abuse. Same thing with women. Same thing with any group, marginal group. They borrow our songs, they chant our chants, they use us as an example, just like the Blacks, just like the Blacks. It could be Asians, it could be whoever feel discriminated, they always use us as an example and a major. And so we go to education. We can also deal with, as I was saying, reparations. You understand? That's a hate crime, denying us reparations. Why are they denying us reparations? And got the nerve to say that the people they enslaved, raped, murdered, mutilated, got skills out of that. You know, and so they should be happy that we enslaved them. You understand? Not dealing with the imposition of the fact that when they were sick, you sent a veterinarian, not a hospital, a doctor. Not dealing with the fact that when they got too old to work, you poisoned them and killed them because you didn't want the expense of keeping somebody around here with a handicap or age too much to work and wasn't productive. You killed them. You sold mothers and their sons and daughters to different people. That's a hate crime. You understand, to me? And the same thing with morbidity and mortality. You know, life expectancy and birth control, and all those are hate crimes. We have to quit letting them take the narrative. They got a narrative about reverse racism, discrimination against white people. They go into Washington, D.C. and we taking our country back on January 6th. Who the hell are you taking it from? We don't own it. I mean, you taking it from each other. You understand? The jurisprudence system. There's a rare brother and sister to get any justice in court. Now here's a man who has a dog that's trained to attack. The brother got his hands up in Ohio. This ain't Louisiana, Machenda. This ain't Texas. This ain't Mississippi. This is Ohio. Brother got his hands up. The other officer said, don't stick the dog on him. He got his hands up. That white boy said, I got to get my dog some feeding. Go get him. Go eat. You know what I'm saying?
Was that what they pulled the trucker over?
That's right.
Yeah,
And he had pulled over, called and said, hey, I'm scared to get out. 911, I'm scared to get out. They got guns pointed at me. There's over 30 cars, and I ain't did nothing. And they stopping him because of a mud flap on the truck. One was missing. You understand? And I mean, I don't know. See, first thing, you know, the challenge is education, teaching at an early age, and in family structures. But, you know, it ain't going to be everybody. Quit thinking all Black people got to be unified. Ain't no race, no ethnicity on this planet all unified. America got laws about treason, about going against the flag, about doing this and doing that, and they can punish them that don't go along with the American creed. You know, we can call people names, but we can't haul people in the court. We can't charge them with collaborating with the enemy. Clarence Thomas would have been in prison if we would run the thing. We had executed him for what he was doing on the Supreme Court. You understand? If we had the power. So the education, we said it in the 60s, we need Black power. And then there were two tendencies of the Black freedom movement. The Civil Rights movement, which white folks supported, Jews and everybody, and the Black Power movement. And the Black Power movement was infiltrated by COINTELPRO. Now, how could COINTELPRO infiltrate every major Black organization, neutralize them, or dissolve them, or create chaos among them with agent provocateurs? But they can't get rid of the Ku Klux Klan. But they ain't dealing with none of those militias, Proud Boys, breaking them up and infiltrating. They go around, they talk about brothers running dope rings and this, that, little petty crimes that they give them the dope, then arrest them for having the dope. You understand? Like Malcolm said, they sell you liquor, then arrest you for being drunk. I mean, that don't even make no sense. But you have to have a cultural consciousness to see things different from your Afrocentric perspective, not from a Eurocentric perspective. The white folks give you, when they define hate crime, they'll arrest you. They're saying you hate somebody. You understand? But a hate crime, to me, is those that have an overwhelming effect on the masses of people, that they make sure that they don't have the power or the consciousness to work toward power. And when you say voting, you vote your interests. Now, who give you a better chance to struggle? Would it be Trump or would it be Biden? We ain't voting for Biden or Trump. We're voting for conditions that allow us to move forward and struggle.
Exactly.
And so you vote your interests. You know, you don't. Well, I'm gonna see who this and that, and I'm gonna vote for the lesser of the evil. No. Vote is a weapon and a tool. If it wasn't a weapon and a tool, they wouldn't be blocking you. And then you're going to block yourself? I don't vote, man, because the white folks got it rigged, and there ain't no difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And I don't care what kind of party it is. You vote for the best person to allow you to continue your struggle. If Trump get, for liberation, and it ain't nothing to do. Go pull a lever or a marketable thing. That's a contribution to your struggle. And all just talk about who we gonna vote for, and we've been voting for the Democrats, they ain't did nothing for us. Well, the man just put a Supreme Court justice woman on. And the man just gave big money to the HUB, Historical Black College and University. The man didn't appoint Black people in key positions. And then you say, well, I don't like Biden because he's too old. Trump just as old. They ain't calling him too old. You understand? Are you going to call your mama and your daddy and your grandparents too old? That don't even make sense. They got wisdom. That's got experience. You letting the white folks define things for you. It don't even make no sense. We always had elders as a part of our Afrocentric community, the circle of elders. May I speak? I'm asking the elders, may I speak? You ever go to programs like that and they say that? Yeah, before I start, I need an elder to tell me it's okay to speak. There's nowhere in African culture that says that. And what happens if somebody says, no, you can't speak? Then what you gonna say? You understand? It don't even make no sense. You understand? Just make up stuff. You understand? Instead of trying to reach these young people. Organize BSUs and on the production where you can. Show films and videos. You understand? Man, they infiltrate our organizations. They got white people teaching Black studies. You got white students in BSUs being the president. Oh, man. Yeah. We want to prove to white folks we ain't hateful, but it's okay for them to be hateful. So I see things quite different from most people. Okay. I don't let Wikipedia define things for me. I don't let no European scholar tell me nothing, because they would be out demonstrating against us being mistreated.
Professor Rahh, this
Yeah.
is why we're here. Yeah. So we could hear you say things like this, because, I pride myself on being an independent thinker. And you definitely have a cultural independence that we need. So I appreciate that commentary. I really do.
All right. So anybody have any bag up? Brother E?
I'm just still listening, brother. I'm still listening to you. I'm still learning.
You must be kind, brother. What about you, Shinda? Louisiana? Come on, talk to me.
Yeah, well, you covered a lot of ground, so I don't really have a follow up to that. I think getting people to, like you say, I guess like you say, we're not monolithic. Everybody's gonna get together for the same cause, but there's enough like-minded people and potentially on the planet to make some change. But it's a force. It's kind of like you take you take a feather and blow at it, it's gonna blow. You know what I mean? So in other words, it's energy that's being provided to try to cease what we're talking about. It's been in effect all my life, and way before that. You covered, the different institutions and things that they use to that are under, that are they use it as they weaponize, the judicial system, the different systems that we, of course, that we are talking about. And so, it's tough. It's tough. We competing with a lot of different forces out there. But mainly and specifically, uh, you know, white supremacy is embedded in all of those institutions. And like you were talking about outcomes, like in court cases, the guy goes before the court, and you talk about the militia. They are the militia. They are this January 6th crew. They had all kind of politicians and folks bum rushing the show. They got a little ignorant brother out here. He wished he could have been there. This is what we competing with out there. I'm saying, as far as the negative forces, you got brothers and sisters that believe in that same thing. They lost and turned out, and he rides around with different signs on his, he's big Trump supporter and all this. Now he can vote for who he want to vote for, but he's making a point by putting it on his truck and wearing those hats, wants to be included. He's like a baby Clarence Thomas, you know what I mean? He wants to, he has sold his soul to the devil, and that's pretty much what's going on. And so I don't know, man. We got a lot of forces out there. That's giving us a lot of pushback. And with the internet and social media and things like that, it's a great tool for a lot of things, because we wouldn't be able to meet tonight without the internet and social media. We're using it in a positive way, but trust me, there's a lot of weapons. There's a lot of people using it for weaponry, and they're infiltrating the minds of the babies and the youngsters and the teenagers and adolescents, teenagers and young adults that are still going through their developmental phases, their social development, human development, part of their life. And so when there's a lack of understanding in the household, that's where they're at. Wherever they lay their head at night, that's where they're at. And they wake up in the morning and they spend time in there, and then they run off to the school system where they spend most of their time, especially the youngsters, the K through 12. And when they run off, they away from their parents all day. And they getting hijacked on all kind of levels, as far as education and things like that. The blessings of having you and Rasaki and Brother Hembrick and Brother Umar and Brother E and me, myself, the ones that are.
Okay, I don't know what happened to Brother Mashinda's sound,
In
but
our path of life, we're just one individual, but we kind of meeting tonight and we're doing some good. I know we're doing some good. That's why I show up much as I can, just to be a supporter and a participant and a believer in what we're doing. But it's a tough battle, and so all I say, just hang on, put your seatbelt on, and because it's gonna get deeper. That's it.
Okay, Professor Rahh,
Yeah.
can I say something real quick? So we, as we're looking at this, the sharing of the screen, I want to take my hat off to Brother Umar, because he's right in the mix with the politicians and he's doing something about it. So thank you, Brother Umar, for doing all you do. He's right there. He's right there with them. And what do you call this? This is what would you call it, Rahh? Standing up to power.
Yeah, it's speaking truth to power.
There you go. Speaking truth to power.
But what you got to remember, Malcolm said it. Just listen to his album. We got to fight on all fronts. Every aspect of institution, social, political, economic, educational, health, you understand, industrial, prison complex. And we got organizations and individuals doing it. Just like you don't know what's going on in Africa, that this white man from Russia was over there stealing everything out of Central Africa to finance him building an army. I mean, and he corrupted the president and then gave him armed guards to keep him from being attacked. And they would attack anybody that was against him. Well, is that hate crime or not? But see, you don't get that until America interest is being threatened, then they let you know. But they never cover what's going on totally on the continent of Africa. They don't tell you what's going on with Israel and what they're doing with the Palestinians. They'll tell you when the Palestinians do something to one Israel person, you know, and then you never hear what Israel is doing to them. They throwing rocks and fighting for over 80 years. You know, they've been fighting to get their land back. And America sit there and veto any attack on Israel in the United Nations. Because why? They're an extension of America. They ain't no, all this stuff about the, man, they'll tell you they're Democratic, but they support autocrat, Democrat, dictators. You know, how you gonna support the Pope? He ain't said nothing. And the first religions on this country was Catholic. You know, and he ain't talking about no moral or ethical thing. Get out there and wave his hand, old man, and then go back in there and go to sleep while people are dying. And you think a powerful person like the Pope that mean Papa, me ain't no woman ever gonna be a Pope, because the word Pope means Papa. You know, and oh man, it's just, you got to read, you got to study. There's three parts of America, of African history: prehistory, signs and symbols of pre-mortal man. Talks about the evolution of us building families through a matriarchal system. Went from food hunters to food producers, and then it created progress. Took it up the Nile, ended up in Egypt and built that civilization based on the civilization they had built before. You understand? But if you don't know the history of how Black people built the pyramids and ended up in projects, you know, destruction of Black civilization, Chancellor Williams. But anyway, hate crimes are crimes against humanity in all forms.
Shorter.
And that's the way it goes. Go ahead, brother.
I want to go back to Brother Raski's comments, how we open eyes, and he made the comment there. He spoke about entertainment, and then I think you addressed laws and policies. When it comes to opening our eyes, I really feel like we are in a paradigm shift right now, because we have programs such as this one. We have other programs that are starting to create more awareness that we are paying attention to, and it's opening up the minds. Not everybody all at once, but all forms of the arts are starting to give a cultural narration of our experience to help awaken the masses. And I believe, especially when you look at what's going on in Africa right now, a lot of the indigenous Africans are starting to say we're not going for colonialism anymore in our country. We are, you can't go to China. A Black man cannot go to China and establish his agenda, but Chinese could come to Africa and establish their agenda. So they are starting to wake up and starting to push their own agendas now. And then, so I'm starting to see that on the rise. As far as when it comes to the entertainment in this country, a lot of it is not what we like to listen to. No, I really understand that. This is 50 years of hip hop, and right now the music that's being played in hip hop is not my choice of music. What I do respect about a lot of the entrepreneurs in hip hop, they're starting to own their own companies. They're starting to own their own their 360 deals. They're owning everything about what they do prior to years before. You will get a marginalized Sam Cooke for creating his own record label. You see what I'm saying? And if he didn't join the establishment, you know, you gotta go. But now entertainers are owning their own companies and getting majority of the bag to benefit and doing good in their community. So that part right there. Then another part of entertainment, they got this new movie out with Jamie Foxx called They Clone Tyrone. And one of the main, let me see if I still got it over here. One of the main quotes in this movie, it says, assimilation is better than annihilation. And it reminds me of what the brother was saying, how this guy is going around his town, want to assimilate into the culture, into the white culture, instead of standing up for his own because he fear being annihilated. He want to be accepted by the culture that's oppressing. So a lot of the reasons why we aren't waking up, because we prefer assimilation. We prefer to be a part of what is called to be, somebody said it earlier, to be American. You know what I'm saying? When we have our own identity. This is why I don't really like to use the word black too much, because it's not connected to a land, culture, or history. I prefer a word that's connected to our ethnicity, which is African. But to me, they both mean the same thing. But legal wise, I'd rather use African, because black is only a color, and that's no disrespect to anybody on this platform. Another thing is the laws and policies. We do need human security. We are searching for human security. I do not. The one thing I agree with FDR was his speech on January 6, 1941, when he mentioned everybody deserved human security. And he gave 4 tenets: freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom of expression, and freedom of worship. This is the one thing that I believe in my First Amendment right. I do believe we need laws. We need to stand up for the laws that's going to protect our people, such as how you said hate comes in all forms. This is why we need to. That's why we need to push the laws that's going to give us our human security in this country. You know what I'm saying? And that's not going to happen until we all come together and identify our agenda before we just give our vote away. And like you said, vote with our interests. If you can help, if you can agree with this 5-point agenda, at least 4 out of these 4 values that agree with sustaining my people, then I may give you my vote. But otherwise than that, I just can't give away my endorsement to you. So, I really believe that, we can, or we are on the cusp of change. And by programs like this and having our mentors involved, giving us advisory, we can do it. And like you said, Brother Rahh, everybody's not going to join up, but it will be a few people who enjoy what's good and forbid what's wrong to push this cause and this struggle to bring about good. You know what I'm saying? But I just, and I pray that I could be one of those individuals who gets the reward of bringing about a good out of a struggle. Diamonds are born under pressure. So, I'm really thankful for this program and you taking my call because we need to create the awareness and know that we're in Los Angeles County, at least. We're only 9% of the population for 73% of hate crimes. And then we only like 13% of American population, but we're over half of the population in prison. We have to do more educating, provide more education that creates the necessary awareness for the paradigm shift that is necessary for our people to really, so we can make a change to hold our opposition accountable. So I just wanted to, I want to thank you for allowing me on this show and all that.
I'm gonna say this again.
Yes, sir.
First of all, Brother Joe Hembrick just joined us. You, white folks are paid to hate, paid to discriminate. They get a benefit from it. Politically, the more we don't vote, the more they win. Economically, that's how they have their houses separate from us. Church is the most segregated day of them all. Thurgood Marshall said that the Klan don't wear white sheets over their head no more, they wear black robes. You know how long ago that was? I'm just trying to say that the struggle has always been here. We wouldn't be where we are if some people didn't struggle before us.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't listen to none of them white presidents or governors talking all that stuff because it's in their practice. It's in their practice that you go by, not them. We offer the whole world prayers and all that type of stuff, and we believe in democracy. They talking about just for white folk.
Yeah.
You understand? I mean, when they built this country, the brother told me the other day, he said, look, white power built the government. The government didn't build white power. You understand? Now, I want you to think about that. The white power, white folks coming together with guns. The first president, Washington, wasn't even elected. You understand? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, everything the white folks say morally and ethically, they got it from Africa. Because it's not in their nature. Their nature is to dominate, denigrate, and deprivate. They want to dominate you, degrade you, and depress you. And I mean, morals and ethics were part of the African culture. Civilization, all that. It's written in the ancient texts and everything. Joe Hembrick can tell you the Pipers and the Europeans didn't have that. They was in caves. You understand? And then, you know, they come out saying what we've been saying all the time and what we've been practicing. And then we say, oh, wow, that's a good white man. No, it's about him doing something, not saying something. You know, doing something for against his people who are practicing dehumanization of other people. The Native Americans, oh man, what did they do to them? And as far as Asians, dropped nuclear bombs on them. Man, killed 300,000 people with one bomb. They dropped 3 on the Capitol, not on the soldiers, on the Capitol. When they went into Iraq, they were supposed to meet the Republican Guard out in the desert. They told them, oh, we got to get body bags because a lot of the Republican Guards are bad soldiers. What did they do? Use technology, smart weapons. And guess who was one of the #1 people using? A general, a black general. You understand? I mean, brother, I'm just telling you, man, you got to read and study from a black perspective. You can't listen to this Caucasian. The Ambulance Mom is calling trickeration. You can't listen to him. You can. Are there some white folks that help you? Are there some white folks that write brothers letters when they're in prison, put money on their books, marry them when they get out? Yeah, they're all of that. They don't care about them. It's the ones that are controlling the finances, the weapons, and the land. Joe, you have any comment?
No, sir. Just tuning in late. Lost track of time today. Got caught up. I'm just listening.
All right. Well, hey, we want to thank Brother Hakim for coming.
Last thing.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying. This is why I really agree that we need our own schools. We need our own institutions.
We had them in the 60s.
What I'm saying, like today, like right now, we have our own school on Slauson. We was able to buy the old Marcus Garvey building when they sold the building and develop our own Islamic school. But we need more. We need more Marcus Garvey schools. We need more. We need to start reestablishing what was destroyed when we was building our community. You know what I'm saying?
Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah, I believe in all that.
Chula in Pasadena. We had an independent school association in the 70s. Hakim Institute of Positive Education. They still got schools, but charter schools killed them. Charter schools, and they couldn't get charter, and the people left. You understand? Just like in the movie when they say that we went down to demonstrate, and they were hiring that day. And everybody got a job, and they say ain't no struggle no more. It's a long, protracted struggle. And once you get in it, see, it's different. You know, that's why I listen to Dr. Maulana. He's battlefield tested with COINTELPRO and everything. I talked to Jajaga Pratt, and all of them. You know, I talked to Bobby Seals, all of them. You understand? And the Europeans used them to attack each other. You know, send letters and stuff. I mean, man, this guy, he playing. The most key weapon he uses Christianity. The first churches was in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Coptic Church. It's for service and caring. The first church here was African Episcopal Methodist Church. And they built it because the white man kicked them out and wouldn't let them have communion. So they started their own churches, two different Methodist Episcopal churches. It's a weapon. They weaponize everything. And they weaponize Christianity. You know, to the gospel of prosperity now. Don't even talk about service. Don't even talk about social organization. But there are some ministers that still practice that old time religion, as Malcolm said. You understand? Quit all that singing and start doing some swinging. And but anyway, we appreciate you coming, brother.
Thank you, sir.
I got Rashidi, what's happening Wednesday?
Okay, we got Brother Muko coming. And let me show you the title. Share the screen. Process for sharing this screen. So here we go. We got Brother Muko. The title is Body Snatchers Projecting Your Black Sperm and / Justice Day. So I'm waiting to hear all of that because that's a title for you. But that's what we have on Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right. Are we done? We taking our pause this evening?
Yeah.
Right. So Conscious Corner and each one teach one. Have a good evening.
All right.